tons of big breaking news. You need to be getting ready. You need to be getting prepared. You need to be getting your family ready, because they are preparing us for a big one. And they are warning that things are going to get worse. We could see EMP-like events. We could see massive cyber events. We could see major weather events, even potential earthquakes. All these things are on the table right now, and we're going to cover all these events going on. There are states of emergency in multiple states right now. There are major devastating weather events happening, and there are also massive cyber attacks, ransomware attacks. All these things are going on, and we're going to cover them all right now today, so stay tuned. So let's dive into this news here, and this is critical because this is what they just did to Dallas. All right, think about this massive cyber attack that happened in Dallas, shut down the police department, shut down the response, and then look at what happened the past few weeks in Texas. It's been crazy. There's been a ton of incidents in Texas, and it's getting worse. All right, things are boiling over and bubbling over, and we are going to see more things being shut down as the country becomes more and more chaotic. All right, so we can see here Curry County, Oregon has now been cyber attacked as well, and it has shut down their major communication systems. They are saying they are, quote, starting from scratch. All right, this could happen anywhere. They're saying that they can't even make land recordings right now for land records for people selling and buying land out in this county, Curry County, Oregon. They cannot make records right now because of this massive cyber attack. They're saying they can't even send an email. They're saying they can't even connect their phone or connect their computer to the printer to print out a piece of paper, to print out anything. They're saying it's that bad. They're completely starting from scratch in Curry County, Oregon. And this is happening to dozens and dozens and dozens of counties and cities all over the U.S. What happens when it's the big one? What happens when it hits the grid, when it hits the banking system, when it hits the food supply? We have warnings that cyber attacks are going to ramp up on our food supply too. I'm going to get to that in just a second. And we already saw massive cyber attacks on Dole. Dole had to shut down their production facilities just a couple months ago due to a massive cyber attack, one of their biggest production facilities in Southern California, where they process almost all the fruits and vegetables for the winter. Specifically in the winter, this is where they grow a lot of this stuff, is in Southern California. And one of their biggest production facilities was shut down for weeks due to a massive cyber attack at the beginning of this year. All right, we also are seeing, we're going to get to these other states and counties in just a second, but we're also seeing La Crux, one of the biggest electronics manufacturers in Europe, in the EU. It's based in Germany and a few other countries over there, some of the major countries over there in Europe. They have factories in, and they've had to shut down multiple factories right now due to a massive cyber attack. There was a massive cyber attack on Applied Technologies, the largest semiconductor and chip manufacturer in the world that's based in Massachusetts, and they said they were going to lose over $250 million this quarter just in the first 3 months of the year due to the cyber attack and due to their production being shut down. These things are being shut down. Our supply chain is being hit. We are being hit with this extreme weather I'm going to get to in just a sec. They are now warning that earthquakes could be a possibility as well. We could see earthquake manipulation. All these things we're going to get to in just a second. They're also warning of coronal mass ejections, sorry about that, are going to increase from the sun as well, which could create EMP-like events throughout the world. We are living in a time where everything is connected to the internet, and it's very vulnerable. The internet's very powerful for getting these messages out. Hit it up down there to get this out for more people and to help the channel out if you want to. I really appreciate that. It's very powerful for getting things out, but it's also very vulnerable, all right, because these things can be shut down in an instant. And this is part of the reason why we've bugged out. We are on our bug out property right now, and we are in our RV, and we're building up our infrastructure here and getting stuff set up and building a tiny home here. We already got our chickens going. We already planted a bunch of seeds today and seed trays. We are going out here because we want to be off grid and we want to be prepared for a situation like this. Let's get into Passaic County in New Jersey as well has been shut down. Their police department has been shut down due to a massive cyber attack, and they cannot have 911 response. They're doing everything by paper and calling people through external lines. All right, all their 911 response has been shut down in Passaic County, New Jersey as well. These are hitting hit after hit after hit. We're seeing all these cables being cut as well. I'm going to get to this in just a second. Franklin County Public Schools hit by ransomware attack. We're going to get to these state of emergencies, these weather emergencies, and earthquake news in just a sec too. And there was also 2 back-to-back earthquakes in California in the past week in Sacramento. There's a lot of stuff going on. All right, so you can see here a bunch of cables have been cut as well. I'm just going to run through these so you guys can hear them. Kansas City thieves suspected of cutting more fiber optic cables. All right, this is happening in Kansas City, Missouri. More fiber optic cables. They keep cutting it. Fiber optic cables knock out 911 call service in Amador County. 3 suspects arrested. This is in California, outside of Sacramento, California. They're shutting down the emergency response by cutting the cables too. This is happening. There are individuals and groups targeting our grid and our infrastructure. This is happening right now. Fiber optic cables cut in rural Kingston, Ontario as well. And you can see here even the UK's new sophisticated warship. They just released this high-tech warship, just revealed it. More than 60 cables were cut on this warship, sabotaged. Somebody was able to access this ship, get inside of it, get into the internal control box, the internal electrical system, and cut more than 60 wires that are critical to this warship operating. We are in a quasi-war that is operating around us right now. All right, that's why it's important to be prepared, because once a kinetic version of this gets more serious, a lot of people are going to panic. A lot of people are going to freak out, and a lot of people are going to try to flee the cities. And that's why it's best to already be out of the city, already have a property, already have a space that you are working on and you are already prepared for. And maybe even you can grow some food, grow some extra food, all right? Because it's going to be bad if there's a massive cyber attack or EMP or coronal mass ejection, a CME from the sun. All these things are on the table, and we're getting warnings for all these. I'm going to cover it in just a second. There's also something very suspicious going on the West Coast in California right now. New reports are coming out, and they're saying federal investigators are involved because over 60,000 pounds of ammonium nitrate, which is a chemical used in fertilizer and also used to make explosives, has gone missing from a railway. Over 60,000 pounds. How does that just go missing? 60,000 pounds. And it was shipping from Wyoming to California last month, prompting 4 separate investigations. Over 60,000 pounds of missing potential explosive material. All these things are on the table right now, and you need to be prepared. We really don't know what's going to happen. We had the FBI a couple weeks ago at the beginning of May doing a nuclear incident drill outside of Houston. 60,000 pounds on a railway does not just go missing. That is very hard to move around, all right? It either has to be on a different rail, all right, in some kind of car, or it was moved off the rail and loaded into trucks, all right? This had to go somewhere, and we need to figure this out because this is a major red flag, like a lot of the other events we've been seeing. You can also see here 2 people arrested in North Carolina accused of cutting 2,000 fiber optic cables in Connecticut. I know this sounds weird. So 2 people from North Carolina apparently went to Connecticut or were there, and they cut over 8,000 fiber optic cables, and it caused over 40,000 people to lose internet service. Why is this happening all of a sudden? Why are all these coordinated events happening? And here's another warning out of Yahoo News, warning cybersecurity threats leave our food industry exposed. And they're saying that our food industry is one of the most exposed industries to cybersecurity threats because there are so many kinks in the supply chain. There's so many links in the chain where something could go wrong when things are being harvested, before harvest, for processing, on the way to the shelves, at the grocery stores. There are a bunch of different points where the food could be hit with a cyber attack and could cause food to spoil or to rot. We are already seeing the lowest wheat harvest and wheat yields and the highest abandonment since World War I. All right, since World War I, the highest wheat abandonment from farmers and the lowest yields in the U.S. since World War I for wheat. All right, and this is at a point where our population is exponentially larger than it was in World War I. 1.5, 2, 3 times larger than it was in World War I, and we are at a even lower level than that. Right, during the middle of a world war, we couldn't even grow. We can't even grow enough food to match that. So get that 20-pound bag of rice. Like I've been telling you, stock up on seeds. I bought a ton of seeds a couple months ago, just stocked up, right? Every year I just buy a bunch. I just want to stock up. I just want to have more, and I just keep my old seeds, and I just have new fresh seeds, and I don't even use most of them. I just want to be stocked up and be prepared in case I need to use them and in case I have to use them. All right, and let's get into this very suspicious earthquake news. This is so weird, and I made a video about this, what happened in Turkey a few months ago, how it was very, very suspicious, the earthquake that happened there. And I talked about how there are earthquake weapons. Okay, so I've talked a lot about geoengineering, weather manipulation, the skies being sprayed with silver iodide to crystallize the water crystals and to create moisture in the air. All right, I've talked about all this. This is all admitted. It was admitted on Good Morning America. I made a whole video. I showed everything about it. All right, I've been covering this for a whole year at least. I've been talking about this forever. All right, so, but there was a major suspicious event in Turkey with this earthquake. All right, and now they're having other suspicious earthquake events in that similar region. All right, so you can see here Nord Stream island shaken by, quote, power pressure wave from atmosphere. Very suspicious, very strange. And there are weather weapons like HAARP that interact with the ionosphere and can send very powerful frequencies through the ionosphere and bounce them through the ionosphere with the silver iodide, because silver is the most reflective and the most conductive metal on Earth. All right, the most conductive. Go look it up. I always have people arguing that it's copper. It's silver, the most conductive metal on Earth. It's just not used because it's expensive, and they spray it into the skies, and they allow these radio waves to travel even further and be amplified by 5G antenna as well. And these radio waves can be pinpointed into the ground and cause shaking into the ground. This is all admitted science. This is real stuff. HAARP is real. HAARP is an ionosphere heater. All this stuff is real. It's all admitted. And now this happened in the Nord Stream islands. Very suspicious. So it was, quote, power pressure wave from the atmosphere. It was shaken by a, quote, power pressure wave from the atmosphere. It says inhabitants of the tiny Baltic Sea island of Bornholm near last year's Nord Stream pipeline explosions were alarmed Saturday when, quote, acoustic pressure waves from an unknown source sparked tremors, as first reported by AP News. This is coming out of AP News. Quote, acoustic pressure waves from an unknown source. And there have been all these videos I've seen all over the place of these very strange sounds that sound very just not natural, inhuman, very unnatural. And it happens a lot of times when these very odd cloud formations, like when there's a 90-degree cloud formation, a triangular cloud formation, or a very peculiar, a very uniform cloud formation. And there's speculation that this is when they are releasing these radio waves and these frequencies through the air. All right. And acoustics, sound is a frequency as well. We are in a very similar plane here that we are operating. It says around 3 p.m. local time, the Geological Survey of Denmark and Greenland said they received dozens of calls from Bornholm residents about the ground shaking. Seismologists initially thought the source of the earthquake was a controlled explosion in nearby Poland, but have since ruled that out. Quote, the seismologists can report that it is unlikely that the tremors originate from a controlled explosion in Poland, which was carried out shortly before the first reports of tremors in Bornholm. All right, so this even registered as an earthquake. They even thought it was an earthquake. It was so powerful, and they thought it was from an explosion, but it's from, quote, acoustic pressure waves from an unknown source. This is very serious. We're living in the 21st century where all these things are on the table. And check out this, all right? This goes along with it because they are using AI to train these frequencies and to train HAARP to perfect it, all right? They're using AI to manipulate the frequencies and have them interact in a perfect way just how they want. They're using AI in live time to do this. And now NASA's new AI system gives 30-minute warning before CMEs strike Earth. Coronal mass ejections strike Earth. So all these things are on the table now. They are now warning. NASA itself is saying, hey, these coronal mass ejections, which can cause EMP-like events, wipe out the grid, wipe out electronics, wipe out satellites. They are now on the table, and NASA's even building a new AI system to predict and give a 30-minute warning. So these things are happening, guys. They are warning us. They're telling us that these are going to become more frequent. And check out this article. Want to see the Northern Lights? Good news. Experts predict years of awesome aurora viewing. This is out of USA Today just a few days ago. Experts predict years of awesome aurora viewing. And they were saying, yeah, just a few weeks ago, just last month, you could see the auroras in Arkansas and Arizona. All right, all the way down in Arizona, you could see the auroras, and they're saying how amazing it was. And I pointed out how HAARP itself is an ionosphere heater. That's specifically what it's made for, is to heat the ionosphere, and it can even create artificial aurora out of radio waves. This is all admitted. I've showed the documents a million times. HAARP even stands for High Altitude Auroral Research Program. That's exactly what the program is. And these receptors are all over the place. These 5G towers, these high frequency radio transmitters are everywhere. They're all over the place, and they're placing them in more and more places. All right. So let's get into this state of emergency that's happening with this flooding as well. All right. It's affecting Utah the most right now. They are getting hit with massive flooding outside of Salt Lake City, and they're declaring states of emergency all over Utah. And you can see here, Huntsville homes face evacuation as Ogden rivers flood. This is just more suspect activity when all of this flooding is happening. Look at California. There are lake beds that people built whole communities in. There's whole towns in them now because they've been dried out for so long, that are filled with water now because they've had so much water. It's been such a historic year in California. And they even admit that they have a cloud seeding program in California. They admit this stuff. So what are they doing in Utah? I was in Utah a little bit ago, and I saw a ton of cloud seeding in Utah. You can see here, flooding forces evacuations in southern Minnesota town. All right, they're evacuating as well. And Alberta wildfires are now causing evacuation orders, and they're saying 19,000 more evacuations are being ordered. And I already reported on last week how 30,000 people were being evacuated. Now this wildfire is spreading, and it is getting into close to 100,000 people. This is just one article. I saw a ton of articles about these fires, and they're spreading to a lot of different areas in Canada, and they are now affecting over 100,000 people are under evacuations in Canada from these wildfires. And this shouldn't be wildfire season. Wildfire season should be later in the year when it's dry. This should be wet season when all the snow's melting. It should be snowy up there a little bit still, and all the snow caps should be melting, and it should be rainy season. This should not be wildfire season. It should not be dry there, but something's happening, all right? And we've seen very suspicious and strange wildfires before. And I've even talked about before how there are high-powered lasers that can start these fires from miles away, and there is no evidence. Somebody could be 10 miles away with some of these lasers that are very high-powered and just start a fire. It just works like a magnifying glass with the sun. You can start a fire with that. Think about these high power, these highly refracted lasers that they have that can start fires from very far away, miles and miles away. The Forest Service even uses these to start fires sometimes because they can't get away in a fast enough time. So they start it miles away and then they just drive away from there. All right. These things could be put on drones. We are living in an era where everything's on the table. We're living in this futuristic era, and that's why we have to take it back. We have to grow our own food, be on our own land, be sustainable, have our own homesteads, grow microgreens, pop a seed, just pop one seed, get one seed going, and you will feel so good. We just planted a ton of seeds today, and I'm telling you, you only have to plant them that deep in the soil, just a tiny little bit, and just keep them wet. Have them sitting if you have it in a little cup or something, have it sitting in another cup that has water in it, so it can stay nice and wet. Keep that top spray bottle on top, all right, and it will pop up. You will get seeds, grow your own food, get these skills under your belt, get a 20-pound bag of rice, get stocked up on canned foods. All these things are going to become more and more critical as these events increase, all right? So hit it up down there for me if you want to support the channel, if you want to get this video out to more people. There's a ton of stuff going on, and people need this information, so it really helps to get it out there. It helps my channel a bunch, and I really appreciate that. So thank you guys so much. Thank you for blessing me and my family. You guys have truly blessed me watching my videos, listening to me, and we are able to be off grid because of you guys. All right, you guys are helping us make this possible, and I'm super blessed and super grateful, and I hope that I can inspire you guys to do something too. Just grow a microgreen, grow one plant, grow one tomato, get that first tomato under your belt. Just get one this year. You can do it. Get that first egg under your belt, duck egg, chicken egg, whatever you want. Get that first egg under your belt. You will feel so good about it, and you will have confidence, and you will want to do even more. All right, so thank you guys so much, and I hope you guys have a big old blessed day.